Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Now let's get to your headlines. Happening right now, it's a KARE 11 Weather Impact Alert Day as messy snow and rain system moves across our state. We've got a little bit of spring and winter in this storm, but thankfully the worst of it should stay north of the Twin Cities metro. We'll get a full forecast from meteorologist John Ziegler coming up in a little bit. Well, breaking this afternoon, Wolves and Lynx owner Glenn Taylor is ready to transfer ownership of the teams to Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez. The final step in the process is approval from the NBA. According to The Athletic and ESPN Insider, say the purchase price for the teams was $1.5 billion. ESPN Hoops insider Shams Charania says that Taylor will not challenge a ruling by arbitrators in favor of Lowry and Rodriguez, who Taylor alleged missed a deadline and violated a purchase agreement hammered out in 2021. This story will be developing all day, and we'll keep you updated right here on KARE 11 Plus and on KARE 11 News at 4, 5, and 6. Happening right now, the world keeping a close eye on the White House today, where President Trump is set to unveil his plan for tariffs on imported goods. The administration says increased taxes will be imposed on all countries that send items to the U.S., but that the president is open to negotiations. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are skeptical the plan will help Americans, and economists say it will raise prices on most things. Alice Barr has the very latest from D.C.
Hi there. The nation and the world are bracing for President Trump's reciprocal tariffs rollout today against all foreign trading partners, both adversaries and allies, who the president frequently says have been ripping America off with what he sees as widespread trade imbalances. Canada is among the nations awaiting a full list and promising to push back even harder, with the Premier of Ontario saying Canada will go tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. The European Union president also saying the EU would prefer a more constructive solution over a trade war, but is ready to respond with a strong plan. The new tariffs are set to take effect immediately and add to a sweeping series already in place, including 25% tariffs on foreign cars in effect today, with the tariff starting to be collected tomorrow. The same for foreign auto parts set to follow. And we've already seen the reverberations of that throughout the auto industry, with concerns over just how much prices may be pushed up for both foreign-made cars and domestic ones with foreign parts. Even before we learn the details today of President Trump's new tariff plans, the White House press secretary left the door open to potential changes, saying President Trump is always up to take a phone call and negotiate, but is focused on fixing wrongs of the past and showing American workers have a fair shake. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Good news for your grocery bill this afternoon. Egg prices are slowly starting to drop across the country. Right now, wholesale eggs are sitting around $3 a dozen on average nationwide. A big reason for that, according to the U.S. Farm Bureau, is because of noticeably fewer bird flu cases. Another big reason, fewer people are buying eggs because they're so expensive, so grocery stores are able to get their stock up. Despite the decrease, though, egg prices are still historically high, about 59% more expensive than they were this time last year. As you finish up your workday, we could find out if an emergency declaration over trash collection in St. Paul will end tomorrow or be extended. The declaration went into effect yesterday. It temporarily suspends zoning regulations at the site of the city's new garbage hauler, FCC Environmental Services, in the West 7th neighborhood. This allows FCC to pick up trash this week. Mayor Carter's urging the council to extend the declaration for 90 days so the city can work through zoning disputes. New details tonight about a U of M grad student detained by ICE, leading to protests on campus. A Homeland Security official says the student is in custody because of a past drunk driving conviction. But as Lou Raguse reports, a new lawsuit claims ICE illegally detained him.
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Protesters at the U of M are demanding the release of Doğukan Günaydın, a Turkish graduate student studying at the Carlson School of Management at the U of M, after he was arrested and detained by immigration officials last week. According to a lawsuit filed by his attorney, Günaydın was handcuffed by plainclothes officers and put in an unmarked vehicle as he left his apartment for class, leading him to fear he was being kidnapped. The lawsuit acknowledges Gunaiden had a DWI conviction in Minnesota last year, but his lawyer argues he has committed no crime that is cause for termination of his student status or that renders him deportable under immigration law. That contradicts the petition to plead guilty Gunaiden signed in Hennepin County Court that states, "I understand that if I am not a citizen of the United States, my plea of guilty may result in deportation." In the gross misdemeanor drunk driving case, court papers say Gunaiden initially didn't stop for officers, was arrested at gunpoint, and had a blood alcohol content more than twice the legal limit. In the immigration case, Gunaiden is being held at the Sherburne County Jail. His attorney points out in the lawsuit that he's been told he'll see an immigration judge on April 8th, but that the case does not appear on the Justice Department's website. Gunaiden was set to earn his MBA from the Carlson School in 2026, but unless his student visa is restored, he would not be allowed to return to school.
Local immigration attorneys were hesitant to comment on this case, but say it's not unheard of to revoke a student visa for a DWI conviction. In the lawsuit, his attorney is asking a U.S. District Court judge to take jurisdiction of this case. That hasn't happened yet, and no hearing is scheduled yet. As far as we know, an immigration hearing is set for April 8th and is pending. A major update in Asia as Myanmar's ruling military agrees to a ceasefire in the country's civil war to help with relief efforts after that massive earthquake last week. The death toll from that quake now surpassing 3,000 in Myanmar and reaching into the dozens in nearby Thailand. Right now, crews are racing against the clock to reach any survivors of the quake, as anyone still alive under the destruction has been there for days. 100 million meals. That's how many the Department of Education says they've served to Minnesota students this year, thanks to the state's free school meals program. But a Republican lawmaker is asking, at what cost when it comes to school budgets as a whole, and wants to make changes on who qualifies. Ian Russell has more.
For about a year and a half now, school meals have been a staple for Minnesota students. Free and available to all, it was a major shift in how students are fed across our state.
Representative Myers, you're up.
But inside the state capitol Tuesday,
Thank you, members.
there was a push to change that.
What I tried to do here is bring a pragmatic approach to school meals while also trying to bring that balance and focus on funding our schools.
State Representative Andrew Myers will tell you he's not against feeding kids. Far from it.
Trying to be a good dad to do what I can to support educational outcomes for my kids as well as everybody else's kids that go to these schools.
But he says constituents, from teachers to superintendents to parents, have concerns over budget cuts they're having to face.
What's that mean? That means less teachers. That means larger classroom sizes, less resources.
Schools have faced those challenges in part, they say, because of the free school meal program. Families no longer had to apply and disclose their income level, causing districts to lose federal money supporting low-income families. Myers' bill would require a family of four making roughly $150,000 to pay for lunches. All sides weighed in today as his bill was read in the House Education Finance Committee. Some school district leaders spoke in favor.
Many families have the means to bear the modest expense of school meals. This would result in significant savings for the state, which this bill redirects to the classroom via a third tier of local optional revenue.
A speaker from the state education department says they don't support this change.
Research shows that a well-nourished child is a better learner, test taker, and participant in school.
And the question here is not whether to feed kids, but if families who can't afford it should pay.
You can't be in a classroom learning if you are hungry. That's why we passed the bill in 2023. That's why I know myself and many folks on my side of the aisle are just, this is a non-negotiable for us. We will not take food away from kids.
We are not taking food away from kids. We are reallocating funds that never needed to be spent on households that can already provide for their own children and applying them to the classroom where they are desperately needed.
House File 2201 is laid over for possible consideration.
What's next for his bill is unclear right now, but Myers says the goal is more clear now than ever.
What I'm trying to do is ensure that we have the money we can put into our schools when they are struggling right now, while also feeding kids and their families.
Well, while we freeze in this April snowstorm, some are looking ahead to summer. Today we got details of the Taste of Minnesota Festival in downtown Minneapolis, and some huge names are playing free shows. On Saturday, July 5th, Cheap Trick and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts are headlining the main stage. Sunday the 6th, superstar Ludacris with Minnesota's own Nur-D handling opening duties, along with several other big names. There will also be 2 additional stages this year featuring local bands. There is also a VIP experience available this year that you can buy. Those ticket details and prices are on KARE11.com right now. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.